So, welcome to another episode of Untold Stories, where I kind of dig into the background of interesting people. And sometimes those interesting people are entrepreneurs that I meet through networking. I grow my business through networking. I meet other people growing their business through networking. And today I've got a professional portrait photographer with me. Now, I'm a photographer. We can probably dig into the technical stuff on photography, but I don't think that's what we're really here for. This is about uncovered stories. So, today I'm here with Jordan Jenkins, who is a portrait photographer here in Pittsburgh. We met at the Chamber Connections meetings.
Yeah,
We
PGH
we
North. Yeah.
regularly attend those meetings, and you started attending those because obviously you wanted to grow your business in portrait
Right.
photography. But tell me about your background, frame your business for me, and tell me how you got to the Chamber to promote your business.
Yeah. So I'll start with how I got into photography, first of all. So this was 2017, my sophomore year of college, going into my junior year of college. So my girlfriend at the time, she always wanted me to like take photos of her for like social media, things of that sort. And this time, like I'm gonna get real specific. This time we were in Oakland getting some Ritas, and she wanted me to take some photos of her. And at this time, I'm like, I'm getting into it, getting all the angles and whatnot, just making sure the images are some pretty great images. And in the midst of me doing that, a thought had came to mind and was like, I could get paid from doing this. So fast forward to once my fall semester of my junior year had started, I used my tuition reimbursement to purchase my first camera off of Amazon. And since then, I've just been honing on my craft, and I still use that same camera to this day.
You want to grow your business, right? So
Yeah.
you're networking. You started a business in photography,
Yeah.
and you want to grow it. So
Right.
what are you doing to grow it? How is
Okay.
that
Yeah.
working? So we got into the Chambers, how we met.
Yeah.
So that step to say, okay, I took the step of starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to get customers, right?
Right.
That's the next thing.
Right.
Get the word out.
Yeah, so I'll say it first started off with before I even got into like networking through like chambers and things of that sort. It pretty much started off through like social media. So social media plays a major aspect in me running my business and things of that sort. So started off finding clients through social media. And it pretty much was just going off of word of mouth through those clients, as well as me just posting my work from those past sessions and just like letting those sessions build on to the next one, and like domino effect that way. So that was kind of like early in my photography career. So as far as like my business model and prices and things of that sort, it wasn't really a sustainable model, so to say. So fast forward to what was this 2021, late 2021. I came across this photographer. She's a coach as well. Her name is Megan DePiero. And what she's about is basically like teaching photographers how to run a sustainable photography business. And it's more so centered around like the luxury aspect of providing a full service to your clients. And that was something that really like gravitated towards me. And it was pretty much like kind of like the stars aligned, because like this is I couldn't really pinpoint what it was that I was aiming for, but once I came across like her Facebook group and whatnot, I'm like, this is what I was looking for this whole time. I just couldn't put it in words.
Yeah.
So yeah, once I ended up like just basically observing for like 2-3 months of the results that she's getting from her group. So there's like 20,000 photographers in her Facebook group.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's see how basically like let's see how legit this is. So I'm just scoping out, seeing like the results many people were talking about. 2-3 months go by, and I decided to pull the trigger on like one of her coaching courses. So with that coaching course, one of the marketing tools that was talked about was networking. So more so because it's a luxury model, so to say, like it's more personal. Um, you're really focusing on the human aspect of relationships, building those. It's basically like super personal relationship building, and networking is a part of that. So with that, that's how I got introduced into trying out like a BNI group a few years ago. Found out that wasn't really like my style of it just wasn't my style. So just took a pause from like in-person networking for a couple months while I decided to like figure some things out on my end, get comfortable with who I am as a not only as an individual but as an entrepreneur and photographer. So just like building, because when I realized like there was some confidence that needed to be built. So it just took a couple of months of just reflecting, observing myself, just working on myself pretty much. So decided to hop back in a few months after that, which was 2022, like late 2022. And that's where I had came across I came across PBX. They had
I see you at a couple of those events. Right? I got one tonight I'm going to. Are you
yeah,
going to
yeah,
that?
I'll be there. Yeah,
Okay,
I gotta be there. But yeah, that Christmas event last year that they had hosted at the Grand Prairie, and that was my first PBX networking event, and there was hundreds of people there. So
yeah, it's huge.
and that was like my first time like stepping back into stepping back into the in-person networking, so to say. So it was kind of overwhelming, I'll put it that way. There's so many people, so many new faces. It's like it was just very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I decided to like just keep sticking it out, finding like continue going to different networking events and just finding my lane and how I want to maneuver and just finding comfort not only in myself but like just finding comfort in that journey of talking to people and showing up in person and just showing up in general. So it definitely took a few months to get to the level of comfort that I am now with networking and things of that sort. But it's the journey is always worth it.
You mentioned finding your lane.
Yeah.
And that level of confidence. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Coincidentally, also in photography, that I found out that communication skills and confidence are like 100% of the business.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything without those.
Yeah.
You're not going to find your lane and be confident in your lane unless you work on yourself.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's in sales. I always call sales I hate to call it sales, so I call it relationship building experience or relationship building skills, where the first thing you got to work on is you.
Right.
Because that's everything is you and how you get out there and talk to people.
Right.
So when you say, I think you did the right thing that a lot of people don't do is a little bit of self-discovery and the confidence level. I remember the first time I did a wedding. I photographed a wedding, and my confidence level wasn't very high, but I got this job.
Yeah.
And all these people are like looking at me. I'm on the altar. The wedding's over, right? I got pictures during the altar. But at the altar, you can imagine if you've ever been to a wedding, it's complete chaos.
Yeah.
The groomsmen are, the first time they've seen each other in years, they're partying.
Right.
The parents, everybody's everywhere.
Oh, man.
And somebody needs to take charge.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that guy. And I thought to myself, that was a turning point in my career where I'm like, if I don't speak up, I'm walking out here with no pictures and we're running out of time.
Right.
So what do you want to do? But my first inclination was, if I start being bossy, no one's going to like me. Like, hey, come on, guys, let's get over here. I need all the groomsmen. I need all the bridesmaids. I need the friends and the relatives and the uncles and aunts and whatever, grandparents.
Yeah.
I need to get those combinations because that's what they're paying me for. And so I went way outside my comfort zone and said, it's a do or die.
Yeah.
So there's a point you made where when you want to succeed, you have to step outside that comfort level because it tells you how much you want to do something.
Right.
So I knew I wanted this to work. So I'm like, dudes, let's go. I need the guys over here. And I asked the bride, what do you want? And then I found out they weren't really listening to me. So I said, who do you know that can get those guys over here? They're ready to smoke cigars, they're ready to go drinking, regular reception. How do I organize this and get the confidence to say, I'm in charge? Because there's a few jobs I did where I was quiet and they completely failed. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. I'm either going to get confidence or I'm going to fail. So that pain of failing was not something I wanted to feel. But the pain of that brief pain of being confident, being the bully for the moment, pays off in the end. So you talked about staying in your lane. Do you think you've found your lane of what you like, and then you're still learning that process of how to promote that lane? Are you still looking for that?
Yeah. So I believe I've definitely found I'll say yes, I found the lane, but I know there's more, like a lot more to discover within that in itself. So even with the lane of the genres of photography I do or the lane of how I'm showing up with networking events. So in that aspect, just going off of like how I show up for networking events, it's more so just being more confident in who I am as an individual. So I know when I first stepped into like the networking scene, I was pretty much just going off of, okay, just pretty much thinking what other people would think of me, like what is okay for me to wear, things of that sort. So I'm dressing like how everyone else would dress. I'm talking like how everyone else is talking
Right.
and things of that sort. And I just realized like that really isn't me. So that was part of me also taking that step back for those first couple of months and just like finding myself and just again just building that confidence to just show up like as who I am, like even now, like what I'm wearing now is what I would wear to a networking event. I would not have when I first started networking. You would have probably just seen me like in a full suit or something of that sort, but now I add more like style or flair to like it's just who I am as an individual. Just not necessarily just being myself, not like everyone else, so to say.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that people have to work on being themselves.
Yeah,
And just to, because the world's waiting to see who you are.
right.
And if you're just like everybody else because you're afraid to stand out, no one's ever going to discover how unique you are. And
Yeah.
people hide that, and it's a shame.
Right.
So I'm glad to hear that when you show up, I'm seeing you and not who you want me to see.
Right.
And those things. And I think that consistency in that is very helpful in networking. So that's a good observation.
Yeah, and even to go off of that, I realize a lot of people, when they step out into the world, they wear masks. So understanding like the society that we live in, people feel like they have to wear a mask and things of that sort, especially within the business realm of doing business as a professional, things of that nature. So my approach to what I do with my business is like I'm holding that space for people to take off their mask and just breathe. Like it's okay to breathe. And
So for in your business for your
Yeah.
clients,
yeah,
you're allowing them to, and
For-
also for networking and the people around you.
yeah. So
great, yeah.
just I mean it's so that's just me as an individual. I want people to be themselves because I know how it feels to have on that mask when
Right.
it's suffocating when you it's suffocating. So it's just like whatever, like if I'm talking to a stranger out in the street or something, a random person, or if I'm at a networking event, or if I'm working with my makeup artist, or like with a client, so to say, and more specifically with a client, just letting them take that mask off helps tremendously with capturing who they are as an individual. So that essence of who they are, because they're not like this is them in raw form. Like this isn't a facade that they're putting on to play to certain roles or images that society claims that society make people feel you have to play to.
Yeah.
So, and but like I said, I just know how it feels to have that mask on, and when you have that mask off, it just feels so freeing.
So how do you? I know as I started getting into one of the first things I did was portrait photography. Tried doing environmental portrait photography.
Yeah.
I found that I didn't like it because of what you said. I like candid. I like real smiles. I don't want to tell someone to smile.
Right.
So I found myself learning a lot of psychology. Like
Yeah.
you got to read somebody, find out where they are,
Yeah.
and then find a way to relax them. How do you go about that? How do you tackle that? Now you thought you were a photographer, starting a photography business. Now you realize there's this huge aspect of psychology
Yeah, it's like
involved in this and making someone feel comfortable around you. How do you break that ice?
oh, I was telling a friend not too long ago. I was talking to him like it's like I'm a photographer, but I'm also a therapist.
Right. Yes. Like a bartender. In a sense. Yeah. You want someone to relax around you,
Yeah.
but you got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, and so photography in itself is a very vulnerable activity, so to say. Like it's very vulnerable standing in front of the camera and allowing the photographer to capture who you are as an individual. So in that aspect, it's very important to have someone behind the camera that knows what they're doing. That way, if you can, that adds into you being able to relax a little more in front of the camera, speaking as if I were the client. It lets the client to relax a little more in front of the camera when they can trust who is behind the camera, taking those photos of them. Now, to take it a step further, just to like touch on like my process of how I go about doing, like just letting clients feel relaxed and feel comfortable. So I have a consultation like after we do their discovery call, which we can talk about. But the consultation, which is a very important part of the process of working with life camera soul photography, and what the consultation is, that's basically where I go to the client in person. We create a vision board for what we're looking to accomplish for their session. With that vision board, we finalize their poses, expressions, as well as their wardrobe. So in the wardrobe aspect, we're picking out their clothing together, so that way they don't feel like they're in it on their own. And
A lot of people want advice on clothing.
Yeah.
I've always asked, what do you wear?
Yeah.
What colors are good? Because and you're helping them with those decisions. They don't know. They know what they
Right.
like to wear.
Right.
But what looks good on camera and what
Right.
you like to wear.
Yeah, and with the vision board, it helps everyone to see like we're putting things. It's not paper, but it's kind of like we're putting things down on paper, so we know exactly what it is we're looking to accomplish for the session.
A plan. You gotta have a plan.
Like everyone knows, like. So the most important thing about the consultation is to ensure everyone is on the same page as far as communication goes, and we know exactly what it is we're looking to accomplish for their session. So with that pretty much builds that foundation of what we're working off of. And like I said, it's in person, so I'm building rapport with these people in person already before we even take the photos. So with that, they already get a sense of who I am. I get a sense of who they are. If we're doing like family photos or some sort, I get to meet the children and things of that nature, so they're already familiar. Like, oh, this is a familiar face. So the kid, like, by the time we're taking their photos, the children already know, like, hey, it's Jordan. This and that. Yeah.
See, communication is so important.
Yeah.
And to recognize that is the difference between being successful and not being successful.
Right.
It's recognizing that there's more to this than just showing up and taking a picture.
Yes.
It's not a transaction.
Yeah.
A lot of people will hire a photographer for a transaction, and once they realize that there's more going on than just a consultation. There's a getting to know you process, a familiarity process, a relaxing process that you're really getting them ready for the session.
Yeah.
And then the kids are, when they see you again, it's not a big, oh my gosh, who's this guy? They know who you are now. Now you stay in that niche, and that can be claustrophobic for some photographers because they want to say, I do weddings, I do portraits, I do this, I do everything.
Yeah.
But you are staying and specializing in something you love to do. And what types of clients do you look for, and how do you know during this communication process if you're with the right person?
Yeah. So pretty much like at the root of it all, the clients I look for are the people who not only value their self-image but value themselves. And this, like, you can get an idea of that just by looking at someone. So I was telling someone not too long ago as well, like, stories. What we wear tells a story. So, and it, just off of that one outfit, many stories can be told. But you can tell if someone really cares. To a degree, you can tell if someone really cares, how much someone cares about themselves by how they show up in public, how they carry themselves, their demeanor, and things of that sort. So if we're like at a networking event or things of that nature, like, this is pretty much like how I'm reading people. It's like, and it may not be the greatest way to go about it, but this is one of those metrics that I use in a sense. So just pretty much like how the person carries themselves. That gives me an idea of, okay, this may be someone I want to go talk to, not necessarily pitch to, but go get to know this individual.
You're basically, you're prospecting in a way.
Yeah.
You're kind of looking for the person that's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Or if they know someone who's a good fit for you.
Right.
I know that I always talk about sales and communications, that they're really good skills to have, and the toughest thing to do in sales is to cold call. But there are people, and I like to use the analogy of fishing.
Yeah.
If you know the right bait, you know the right area, you know when they're biting, and you know the fish, you'll catch more.
Yeah.
And if you just like throw a net out there, you don't know what
Right.
you're going to get. So if you know how to look at people, so let's get back to your actual procedure, what makes you unique.
Yeah.
And I think I saw something you posted on LinkedIn that I thought was fascinating. I think I mentioned it to you.
Yeah.
It was the entire process of things that I wish I could have done as a photographer, would have done, wanted to do, but didn't think people had the patience for it. Or maybe I thought it was like taking it too far.
Yeah.
But it's actually good that you go as far as looking at a place to hang the picture to decide what picture to take
Right.
for that space in the house. Tell me about that process.
Yeah. So that's also another thing that's part of the consultation as well. So after we're done creating their vision board, I may ask the client, are there any rooms in your home that you would like to place wall art or things of that sort? So they say, yeah, then we'll walk around like their house to see, like just point out some areas, like there may be like an empty space in their living room, or there's like on their staircasing, like the wall going up the staircase, they may have like thinking of a collage of images going up the wall, or like a bedroom fireplace image over the fireplace or something of that sort. Or they may want to replace an image that they may want to replace an image. So sometimes there are walls where there's already images up on the wall, and they're just like, I want to replace this image with another image. Or I may suggest like we could place an image right here or over here. So in a sense, so there's photography, there's a therapist, and then there's interior design. So that's where the interior designing aspect comes into play, with just styling the client's home with art of not necessarily just random art, but this is art of them, art of things that they value, art of their family, themselves, their spouse. So yeah, and just to dive for, that's what I love. So we emphasize printing out your images. And
Yeah, I remember you brought when you talk at these network meetings, you're actually bringing prints.
Yeah.
And your cards are very one of your statements was, get them out there, don't keep them on your phone, put them
Right.
somewhere, you know.
Right.
And even then, some people will take the pictures that portrait photographers take,
Yeah.
and they stay digital and they
Right.
go on social media. And that's really all they do with them.
Right.
They're not in a book. They don't make photo albums aren't big anymore, but you're emphasizing tangible things in your hand.
Yeah, it's just, and just going off of that, a lot of people, they're, and going back to like the transaction comment that you had made with people, some clients and some photographers, like just the example that I had given that day was like people have over 1,000 images on their phone. Is like, how often do you go back and look at these images? And then take it a step further, you pay for a professional photo shoot and you're just worried about the images, or you just have the images of that session. How many times do you go back and look at those images as compared to like printing out these images? These are images that you're seeing every day. You're walking past every day. They're reminding you of how much whatever it is that you value that's in that image, you're being reminded of that. So a lot of people get self-esteem boosts, confidence boosts, and just it just takes them back to that special moment and reminds them of what they truly love and value. Because if you have this piece of art on your wall, then you must value it. Like there has to be like some extreme amount of value, and that's not talking about the like random pieces of art and things of that sort. Like just going back to like, instead of having random pieces of art, have something more meaningful. So pieces of art like yourself, family, couples, your spouse, things of that nature. You're just being reminded constantly. You're seeing these in your home. If you have them on I know some clients, they have like a office desk print, then they may use one of their prints at their office. So you're seeing these images, whether you're at home or at work. You're constantly reminded, as compared to phone like
You're
images.
never going to open your phone to see those
Yeah.
images. You're not going to be reminded.
Yeah,
of the
like
camera.
it's just out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
Out of
Yeah,
sight,
it's in
out
your
of
phone.
mind.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I also heard some things about what that does to a child's confidence when they see a picture of them with the family.
Yeah.
And it kind of tells you where you belong.
Man.
And it's reminding every day of that you belong. It's not like in your phone, like, oh, here, you can't remind someone of that if they don't
Right.
see it. But when they come
Right.
home every day
Yeah.
and they see a family and they see, themselves,
Yeah.
like you're valued so much, there's a picture of you right there.
Right.
And there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
So how do you go about on your daily work? And there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to get the word out there about
Yeah.
what you do. Obviously, networking is one of them. Cold calling is one. You're using social media. Now, not to date myself, there was no
Yeah.
social media when I started
Right.
photography. I had to develop film and no one saw it but
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know, what a great, powerful tool
Right.
that can be. How are you leveraging that, whether on a professional level, like with LinkedIn type stuff,
Yeah.
and on a more consumer to consumer type of level?
Yeah, so professional level with LinkedIn. So a lot of people, they come to me, a lot of my clients come to me for professional headshots. So LinkedIn is a social media for professionals. So it's like,
Right.
it just works hand in hand. So it's like, why not? Why wouldn't I be on this platform? This is where my clientele, like, this is where I would find my clientele. If you want to be, you want to be strategic when operating your business, and it's just a no-brainer in a
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
So just showcasing, and I do this on both Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. So just showcasing the experience. So I'm able to, like, with reels and things of that sort, because social media is pushing videos very heavily over the past 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And just taking advantage of the video format of showing what the experience looks like when, like, showing behind the scenes, or when clients are picking out their images, when clients or so it's like showing behind the scenes of how I got a certain image, and then showing the final product of what that image looks like. So they're seeing it behind the scenes, and this is how it came out. So there's that. I'm just able to show people, this is what it looks like to work with life camera soul photography. This is what you can expect when working with life camera soul photography. But just going back to the LinkedIn aspect, it's more so like just pretty much honing in on that professional side of business. So I sometimes post, like, portrait work, as far as family photos, like beauty portraits, things of that sort. But I know with LinkedIn, a lot of people are more focused on their professional headshot. So the profile picture that they're using, the professional headshot. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It
Okay.
does. You gotta treat the format
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Like, there's social media. There's a thing for Instagram. There's why there's so many different platforms, is because they each do something unique.
Right.
You may not be a TikTok type of person or profession because you don't communicate well there.
Yeah.
But you may be an Instagram because it's more image based.
Yeah.
Or maybe Twitter because it's informational based or something.
Yeah.
So how do you handle something I think is curious, and something I had problems with as a photographer, so one photographer to another, when you're doing a portrait or a headshot for somebody, or a professional shot, and they constantly criticize the way they look. They are down on themselves. Can you make my nose smaller, my lips, my chin?
Yeah.
Can you make me look thinner? Or I've got acne or something. And they
Yeah.
really want to look like somebody they don't look like.
Right.
And you're almost like a therapist in a sense, like, listen, you're not going to be Miss America.
Yeah,
Okay, I can't. But I want you to be comfortable being who you are.
Right.
But a lot of people aren't. They want to look different. They don't realize that every day their face is out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's seeing it, but for some reason the photographs has to look so much better.
Yeah.
You should look your best, but not like
Right.
somebody you're not. How do you
Right.
walk someone through that process?
Yeah. So I know with clients that are more like bigger in size, so to say, they worry of, like, not looking flattering on the image, so to say. So my remedy with that is just working with the angles and how to pose them of that sort. Now there are some clients, and so just going back to, like, working with the angles for a more flattering image, I'll take the photo, like, pose them in the photo, and then pose them in the pose, and then take the photo, and then show them the back of the camera to, like, show them, like, okay, how's this? Like, this works out. Is this what we're looking for? Things of that sort. So it's pretty much like just trial and error in a sense. Just
Yeah.
works with them, because not every client has the same. One thing doesn't work for every client. So that's just my way of. It's just trying and finding what works for them, what angles work for them, what poses work for them. Sometimes I ask clients, like, okay, what's your preferred side of your face?
Yeah.
That helps a lot. Now with the acne aspect, that's no problem at all, because there's
That's temporary. You can always get rid of that. Yeah.
yeah. But for, like, changing someone's nose and things of that sort, I can't do that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this you can't touch
It's
that.
almost like you have to tell them.
Yeah.
You hate to be the one to tell them. You need to be confident.
Right.
I don't like the fact that I'm bald, but it's going to
Yeah.
be in every picture I
Right,
take.
right.
Or high cheekbones, or my eyes are so recessed or shadowed. That's how I look.
Yeah.
You just have to be comfortable with it. It's just how you are.
Yeah,
And
and
I don't have to love the picture, but it is me.
yeah.
And that's what I think is important.
Right, and it stems a lot from comparison. A lot of people are comparing themselves to whatever it is that they
Right.
may be seeing, whether on social media, TV,
All the filters and stuff they get. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how it was like back then, but I know social media and movies, just the
It was the
media
same. It was like
aspect.
magazines at that point.
Yeah.
You saw glamour magazines.
Yeah.
And everyone who had your head in a glamour magazine,
Yeah.
there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Because they're watching how they think the other half lives.
Right.
I mean, it's been around since magazines and photographs were around.
Yeah.
There's someone looking better, and there's always this, I want to be better than them, or I want
Right.
to look like them, or movie stars. I think maybe
Yeah.
movie stars.
Right.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just being content in who you are as an individual.
Yeah, some people you can never satisfy.
No.
You just have to be that way. So when you, as a photographer, you're an artist,
Yeah.
but you're also a business person, and you have to make money. So you have to find an art that can pay your bills because the mortgage isn't free.
Yeah.
So how do you balance the artistic aspect of it and still maintain the technical, the finances, the equipment you buy, the studio you got to have, the lights and all that stuff, and how you market yourself and getting enough business so you can maintain your art and do it the way you do? Is there a strategy you have or a method to how much time you put into each?
Yeah, so I'll say when I first started off photography, I started off just taking photos of like landscape, going downtown, taking pictures of buildings, cityscape, of nature, and things of that sort. And with these photos, I would add like a story of how I'm feeling and that, like whatever it is I'm going through, like this is how I'm expressing it. Like depending on like, so I took one photo that comes to mind. I had taken of the incline. So I had taken that photo, blacked out everything except for the trolley. So the trolley was in color, but everything else was black and white. And the story behind that was this was like the light at the end of the tunnel. So I can't recall specifically what it was I was going through at that time, but it was kind of like symbolizing that period of hope and faith, and just like it's just that. But with that, I couldn't really find a way to make money off of that.
Yeah, it's hard to monetize that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to graduate into working with people. Now that was a journey in its own because I was very shy, very introverted. So that you talk about stepping out your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That was very much out of my comfort zone, just having to make that pivot. And pivoting is is a thing that you have to do a lot in business is what I had learned. But pivoting to working with people, and I kind of like transition my mentality from, instead of making art for myself, it is making my clients happy with the art that I'm creating for them. However that may look, just know that I'm doing my best to create and satisfy what they're looking for. And as long as they're satisfied, I'm satisfied. Now I'll say with doing that, I kind of lost touch with the original aspect of how I was like expressing myself through art.
Right. Yeah. That happens.
so-
I mean, when you're told as a kindergartner, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's going to change a few times.
Yeah.
You start your photography business, it's going to change a few times.
Right.
I wanted to be a photographer. Now I'm a video producer.
Yeah.
I tried to get into law school. I mean, you're looking for something
Yeah.
that you like, and you end up doing what you feel like you want to do, but then you have to compromise at some point
Right.
because
Right.
something pays the bills and some things don't. There's some
Yeah.
things I did for a long time I didn't like doing. I
Yeah.
did it because it paid the bills. And it's always good to do things that you may not like because they're a little more uncomfortable. Jobs where I'm working outside and I don't like that environment, or I'm in the
Yeah.
heat all day long. But I got to do that because I need to pay the bills, or I'm
Yeah.
doing side jobs for things
Yeah.
that are related to what I do, but they're difficult. But it's about, the economy. You got
Yeah.
to make money doing it. So
Right.
you want to hone your skills to do what you enjoy doing and find a way. You're always looking for a way to improve that. Where do you see yourself, say 5 years from now? How do you see your business? If it may change, like
Yeah.
everyone
Right.
changes as they
Right.
go, But the way you're thinking right now,
Yeah.
where do you see Jordan Jenkins in like 10 years?
Man, so 10 years, I will say many different franchises of my business and wherever, like whether it's in Pittsburgh, well, there will be one in Pittsburgh, just different places around the US. So franchises, I see myself owning like a building. So I had what year was that? 2020, I believe. I had went down to Atlanta for a coaching seminar, and where they had hosted it was for photography. So where they had hosted the photography coaching seminar was in some warehouse, but this warehouse had all the rooms were creative studios, and I'm like, this is dope.
Yeah.
This is fire. Like, just creatives being able to come in and just express their creativity, however that may be. So different rooms had different backdrops, different sets, and things of that sort. And just understanding that, well, just knowing and understanding not every area has a place of that sort where they give the opportunity for artists to come in and just express themselves with that type of availability for spaces. So there's that. I also see myself adding a videography aspect to
Yeah.
the company. A lot of people have been asking me if I do videography over the years, and I'm like, no, I don't do video,
Yeah.
just photography. But the more people ask me, the more I've been like, maybe this is something I should consider.
The cameras do both, so it's
Right.
easier to experiment a little bit.
Right.
Like, what do you need me to do? Because
Right.
I know when I moved from photography to video, it's a money pit.
Yeah.
It is. I remember being on jobs where I took the video side of it, envying the photographer, like at a wedding. I'm thinking, man, all that wedding photographer has to do is when that reader goes up to read,
Yep.
click, they're done.
Right.
I've got to get the audio. I have to have it uncut from beginning to end. You got to hear it, see it, all this stuff for the duration. I'll click and go. Man, I wish I was due to click and go. I can't click and go. So there's sometimes I wish I could just click and go.
Yeah.
But video is like the other dimension
Yeah.
of time.
Yes.
And the technical quality of lighting, and then audio comes into play. Lighting comes into play, but it's composition over time.
Yeah.
And then you get into editing. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a whole different animal than photography.
Sure.
So it's something, if you're a photographer, I'd encourage you to get into.
Yeah.
But it's do the small stuff and then work your way into it, because it just gets, then you get multi-camera stuff. It just
Right.
it can get out of hand.
Yeah.
Because every kind of microphone, every kind of lighting you get. Yeah. But what kind of video do you see yourself doing? If you could do the kind of video you like to do,
Yeah.
what would you see?
So it would be more so like interview style. So just going back to my approach with how I'll do, like how I operate my sessions with clients and making them feel comfortable, is giving them a voice. So a lot of people, like with the mask, when you step outside, you have the mask on, and with that, from the video aspect, it's just giving people a voice, like similar to what we're doing here, is just letting people share their story. Sharing your story, who knows, whatever it is that you're saying can help whoever it is that's on the receiving end. So stories are meant to be told, as well as listened to.
Yeah, and I think now, in one of my commercials, you probably heard this, but video now, as opposed to 5-10 years ago, is so deliverable now. You can deliver it and you can consume it easily.
Yeah.
That's why we don't have to order DVDs and have them
Right.
shipped to us to watch a movie.
Right.
It's streaming 24/7. You
Right.
can watch video anywhere. So it's a great form of communication, and it's out there. And I think you need to leverage that kind of communication, because it's the next best thing to being there. If it wasn't so deliverable, you probably wouldn't need to use it. Before, it was like, I remember back early 2000s when I had to show a client something. And I said, well, are you on Windows or Mac? And I had to send a WMV file. And then they said, I can't watch it. It's too big a file. I can't download it. I'm like, oh, my gosh. So I'd lower and lower the data rate so they could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks horrible. The quality's horrible. I'm like, listen, man, you got to come in. It's so many different codecs. There were so many different recipes.
Yeah.
And when they came up with H.264, I'm like, oh, my gosh, thank you. They got one. I can use that for a commercial on television now. It can be in your PowerPoint. It can be on Vimeo. It can be on YouTube. One file.
Yeah.
H.264, the MPEG 4,
Yeah.
is universal. It can work on a Mac. It can work on a PC. it can work anywhere. So that was a difficult bridge to gap. But I think outside of that, I'm glad that at least video became somewhat easier to deliver.
Yeah.
So now it should be used on a regular basis to communicate, I think.
Yeah, videography is definitely, it's a different type of love. It's like you said, it's instead of still photos, this is time and motion.
Right.
And it's just beautiful to see like how that's captured and just what that represents for whatever specific moment of time that is, whether it's a wedding or a corporate interview or however, things like this. It's just it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think what I was getting at, I think when I say that because it's so easy to do and it's so easy to deliver and consume, that one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is because I think now, because of YouTube, I don't think YouTube's going anywhere.
Nah.
I don't think ever.
Nah.
So I think it's basically archiving everything. So why not archive wisdom through stories?
Right.
So that it's possible now that my great-great-grandchildren can see me talk and share advice.
Yep.
That was never possible before.
Yep.
I don't even know who my great-great-grandfather is. But now it can be that link is right there.
Right.
You know, forever people can document this wisdom and now share it. Not only just everybody's wisdom, but that's my great-grandfather. You know, my great-great-grandfather had a podcast, and he's sharing wisdom about maybe they want to get in the same business I'm in, or it's different now. They want to hear about it. But that is possible now. Those stories can be told, and I wish everybody would do that because YouTube is going to keep making servers. They're going to keep taking billions and billions of videos out there and storing them and making it redundant so that anyone can tell a story and keep it out there. So how can I get a hold of you? How do people get a hold of you? We're going to post links on how to get in touch with you. But if someone wants to work with you after hearing your method, how do they get a hold of you? Is there a website?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, www.lifecamerasoulphotography.net. I'm also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn under Life Camera Soul Photography. And those are the places you can find me at.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and coming out here and sharing your story.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always good to hear that there was one point where you were vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you were questioning your confidence.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs know that the people you don't just start overnight as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of soul searching. I appreciate you sharing that with me because it touched on a lot of what I had to go through, and you're going through the same thing. And I think you're on the right track. I'm looking forward to see the kind of stuff you do. I love seeing your work.
Thank you.
And hope people call you. So thanks for being on here, Jordan.
No problem. If I can add one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
So one major thing that I realized with being an entrepreneur is the personal aspect of life intertwines heavily with the life of being an entrepreneur. Like they work hand in hand. Yeah. So for whatever it is, and I think you touched on this earlier you have to work on yourself to get the results that you want with whatever aspect that may be through entrepreneurship. But it starts with you. So you have to be
open to believing that you can improve. You should improve yourself. Like there are some people who say, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And they don't see it. But just be open to the fact that maybe if something's not working, like when I first started my business and I left my job, there was a guy that wanted to work with me. We were going to buy a business together, like this $2 million business. He's like, I need a partner. I think you're the guy. This is a video related business. Let's do this together. And then he asked me a question because I just left my job at Channel 4. He goes, how do you know you're not going back? Like, I'm not going back. Even people who were there said, oh, you'll be back. You'll be back. You can't just quit your job and become a freelance editor. Yeah. You can't just do that because I left my job without a job. And they thought, you're lying. When I gave them a 2 weeks notice, they're like, where are you going? I'm like, nowhere. I'm just going to quit. They're like, nah, you're trying to negotiate something. And then I left. Yeah. And then this guy asked me, he says, how do you know your business is successful? I go, because I'm making money. He goes, what if it fails? I go, what do you mean fail? Because my mind was, I don't know what failure is. I'm like, he's like, well, what if you stop getting clients? I'm like, I'll find new clients. Right. I said, he goes, but what if it fails? I go, you keep asking me that. What if it fails? I'm like, here's the problem with what if it fails. Here's my thinking right now. If I can't make it in videography, nobody can. Right. That was in my mind. Like if there's a dude over there making money with videos, he's doing something right. I'm doing something wrong. Right. I need to look at what I'm doing and admit something's wrong because it's still being done. Now, if you told me no one in the world can make money off video and the last videographer went out of business, I'm probably not going to look at that.
Right.
But as long as I see somebody doing it,
Mm.
it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to change the way I'm doing it. So there's no failure. There's quitting.
Yeah.
There's to the point where you're like, I don't want to change myself. I'm just going to quit because
Yeah.
other people, I'll let them do it. Like if I want to be a real estate agent, what if you fail? It's still being done.
Right,
So
right.
if I failed, that's me quitting.
Yep.
That's how I saw it. So that was my entrepreneur epiphany when I told this guy that, and I actually said it out loud because I'm
Yeah.
like, failure is when you just quit trying, because if there's someone doing it, you can do it.
Yeah. And
Great advice. Be open to working on yourself.
yeah, even to go off of that is like the way I approach it is failure is not an option. Like I don't have any other choice but to succeed. Like
Right, yeah.
I have to figure it out. Whatever it is, I will figure it out. I have to. Like there's no other. I don't have any other option. I don't see any other option. I don't want to see any other option. So we're going to figure this out.
Right.
So,
The pain of failure is horrible. So
Yeah.
the pain of success is just not as bad. It's
Yeah.
pain, but it's
Right.
not as bad.
Right.
But for me, the pain is if I have to get a job,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it takes to not have to work
Yeah.
a job.
Yeah.
I will reinvent myself. I don't
Yes.
care what it takes.
Right.
I want to find out, what are you doing? I got to do, because I'm not going back to work.
Yeah, right.
I can't imagine this, but yeah. I appreciate you taking the time and being very candid
no
with me today,
problem.
Jordan.
No
Good luck in
problem.
everything you do.
Same to you. I
I'll see
appreciate
you around
it.
at the chamber, buddy.
All right.